Make no mistake, this is a cool climate superfood like no other. That's right, blueberries. This is one crop that can produce insane bounty regardless of your skill level or gardening experience. As a perennial bush with a relatively low level of neediness, blueberries are one of those crops that you get far more out than what you put in. That isn't to say that there's nothing for us to do. To maximize the harvest every summer, there's a few things that we can do to extract as many berries as possible. Today, I got 5 such things to guarantee you a blueberry bonanza every year. Like we mentioned, blueberries are a temperate zone perennial bush crop. They're designed to live in areas that truly experience all 4 seasons. And that brings us to our first task, which is vernalization. Now, vernalization, in case you've never heard the term before, or you don't quite understand what it means, is the normal winter chilling period that induces a plant's flower cycle. And this is the case with our blueberries. Without a proper vernalization, they'll fail to enter the blooming process in the first place. No flowers means no fruit. So, our first step in guaranteeing that big berry bounty is ensuring that our bushes get that required winter chill. Don't bring them inside, don't try to keep them warm over winter, and don't bother growing them in tropical climates. It just won't work. Now, once spring finally does hit, blueberries are one of the first plants to not only send out their shoots, but also those blooms. And not only are they highly prolific, blueberries also possess what's called perfect flowers. That is, they possess both male and female parts all on the same flower. Perfect ingredients for self-pollination. Blueberries, however, are completely terrible at it. And this leads us to our second task, which is to make sure to plant more than one bush. Multiple bushes, plenty of bees, as well as other insect pollinators are required to achieve true berry madness. It's often suggested to not only plant multiple blueberry bushes, but also to plant multiple varieties. Do this to extend the harvest window, increase the harvest itself, and even increase the berry size. This one's important, and one plant simply won't do. With the climate situation all figured out, and more than one bush ready to plant if you haven't already, it's time to focus in on what is the best soil for our blueberries. Light, loose, rich, well-drained but also able to retain moisture are the obvious ones here, but with blueberries, the real biggie is pH. Blueberries are an acid-loving plant, and the normal pH of 6 to 7 of our garden soil simply won't cut it. Ideally, the pH of your blueberry soil should be between 4 and 5. Too alkaline or high in pH, and you'll stunt the bush's growth, and thus the harvests. Blueberry soil pH is almost always controlled through fertilizers, but always take a test of your soil first before applying any. Our fourth blueberry tip is constant moisture. Now, this one's especially key as those blossoms develop and the bush prepares those berries to mature. Berries take a lot of water to make, and even more to plump up. Too little moisture when the plants need it the most, and you'll seriously affect the harvests. Blueberries are native to North America, and naturally, they're a woodland and sometimes even a swamp plant. Constant moisture is their game. The best way to accomplish this in our gardens is twofold. 1, retain as much of that moisture in the first place as possible, and 2, limit the evaporation as best we can. To retain moisture, we have to keep the organic content in our soil as high as possible. We want the soil to be a sponge and to have the ability to soak up water and hold on to it. Organic content within the soil, such as compost, allows it to do just that, keeping the roots of your blueberry plants happy and healthy at all times. As for evaporation, just like with all of our other crops, the best way to virtually eliminate it is to mulch. We don't often get to break out the bark chips for our annual and more lush veggie crops, so for my blueberry plants, it's my go-to mulch. A 2 to 3 inch layer is plenty. We just need to fully cover that soil surface to really limit evaporation. Constant and consistent moisture. Blueberry plants are built for it, and it's a necessary parameter for us to obtain those big, juicy harvests. And finally, we've come to our last blueberry tip of the day. Now, this one is better done back in the winter, but you gotta prune your blueberry bushes. As with most fruit trees and bushes, blueberry pruning is best done in mid to late winter. It's less work to see and get to the old, spent, and dead branches. As well, it's easier and less stress on the plant to do it at this time. We do this because older, unpruned blueberry bushes tend to produce more leaves than they do flowers. Because of this, pruning directly correlates with getting more berries. Do note though that the flowers, and thus the fruit, are only reliably produced on shoots that are at least a year old. By pruning in the winter, we can see the older stems much easier. And this is important because when blueberry stems reach 6 to 7 years old, they essentially stop producing. By systematically removing those branches over winter, we keep our blueberry bushes happy, healthy, and producing at a maximum. So while perennials that come back to life every spring are inherently thought to be less work, it doesn't mean there's nothing to do. They're not completely hands-off. So with that in mind, let's recap those main points to make sure we got them all. Blueberries truly do seem to give more than they take. And as one of the most expensive berries to buy at the store, growing a few bushes in your backyard will more than pay for themselves. Hopefully these 5 tips that we discussed here today will have you swimming in blueberries every summer. Hey, as always guys, happy growing, and I'll see you soon.